Hi, Christine. It's nice to see you again.
It's always good to see you.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. What we did was a really, really fun
First of
thing.
all,
So
60 plus years, nobody can solve it. That's pretty fascinating. Secondly, there's all these dark stories and lore around it. There's this group of people all through the years who won't let this mystery die. Like they keep keeping it alive, right? Like they're hardcore. But mostly it's that first reason. It's like I have this personality defect. If someone says something is impossible, my first thought is, I can probably do it.
why did you want to do this solo performance piece?
Well, it's funny. I had thoughts about doing a one-person show years and years ago. Like I just thought that about diving in the river, but I didn't really have a topic about it. So once we started talking about your coaching abilities and your kind of specialty, it really and then my thing, as people should know, my thing was really about something that was an event in my life. Like I set out to find this car. I searched for 7 years, this family that went missing, and then I found it. And so uh, I could have done this about any part of my life. And then, now that I've gone through the process, I mean, it was great to do something that was so temporal and newsy, but I can see that I want to do this again. And there's other aspects of my life. Now that I've been through this process with you, which was so interesting, because as a creative person, I think, oh, I know processes, but this was so it was so refined. I had to do an hour-long show was way skinnier than I thought in a lot of ways. Like an hour is a very short amount of time, and wow, all these ideas that I thought were going to be in there is like gone. I'm like, okay, no, it's tight, it's efficient, and that was a great lesson. That was I kept being amazed at how tight it has to be, and that was a really interesting exercise.
So going back to the DSM, if I had to choose a diagnosis for myself at this point, it would be obsession. Right? Seeing those 19th century photographs, going through them, thinking about dredge deposits and the floods and where the car would be in the XY axis, and thinking about how can I get there and how can I go through this much material and all the permissions. I am fully day and night in this, to the point where my wife wakes up in the middle of the night and she knows I'm awake and she goes, "Are you thinking about the pit?" I'm like, yes, I'm thinking about the pit. But this feels good. It's the same shape that I am, right? It's history, it's engineering. I get to build stuff. I get to plan all these things. I get to dive in this dark river and find cool stuff. So I'm in 1,000%. And maybe this is the obsession speaking, but I really think I can do this.
What was the most challenging thing about taking this project on?
Well, I had a really limited time. I think that you say most of your clients, start working with you how many weeks out? 30
Oh,
weeks?
almost a year. Yeah.
Yeah, almost a year. So we did it, I think, in 12 weeks, start to finish, right? And there was lots of times when you would shake your head on, and say, "Can we really do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and we both knew I could, but it was crazy. And then I was really nervous about memorizing, and I was nervous because these are all my words. I'm writing it, but to really be confident at the very end, I'm like, oh, I could have. I didn't have as much confidence as I should have about mastering the material, because by the end I'm like, oh, I saw my fears and they were all gone by then, that I could do this. And then the other thing was really trusting you that this was good, because it's such my story and it's so emotional, and that's what I think makes these great, is the emotional arc. I could see that I kind of resisted the idea that I had to memorize it exactly, but I can see now that it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, and that memorizing it exactly with these words that you helped me with so well, because you were really good we did it through Google Docs, and you would really help get the phrases just right, and those became little handholds, like climbing a rock cliff. Like when I said this phrase, I know my next paragraph was going to be this other topic, and so I wasn't relying on myself to sail through the fog.
Remember that family we told you about that went missing in the 50s? The Martins? It was like 3 little girls and the parents, 1958, never seen again. Well, we're actually diving with some detectives, some retired detectives from Portland, and sonar scanning, and it's not going super good. It's really cold, first of all, and it's deep. It's really deep right here. And all the cars are kind of have this, all the rocks have this car-like shape, so it's not going great.
Yeah. How did the process change you?
I'm about to do this in front of 150 people. Is it good? Is it worth doing? And I could really rely on you and your experiences. So so that was not hard, but that was a challenge to like get to that point of the mastery of the material and then feeling like this is worth doing.
Hey, Alan. Hey, listen, I'm going to leave you a voicemail. I got some big news. I think I know where the car is. I think I know where the car is. I really do. I think I found a secret compartment. I think I know where the car... What? Oh, no, I wasn't. Sorry, I'm on the phone. I wasn't waving at you. I think I know there's a secret compartment under the river, right?
I know you're happy that you did it, so I'm not going to ask you the yes or no, but I'll ask you the open-ended. Why are you happy that you did it?
Well, as you know, I have never done something like this. I mean, as a creative person, like I'm an artist and kind of designer, and I do different things, but I've never actually done like a time-based art piece like this, which is, where, I mean, I like telling stories and I like performing, I guess, but I've never really done it. I've never really done it in this formal way. So for me, that was a huge thing to see what it means to create something that's time-based, where you're taking people along, and almost everyone who responds to, I mean, it sold out. It was super successful. And everyone's like, we were with you, Archer. We were right there with you. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's an interesting way of really touching people's minds and experience with my own experience. And that was really good. And it changed me, I think, as a person. Like I was super nervous. I mean, I was having like heart palpitations the day of, and to do that and then to be so successful at it I'm really glad I did it.
Yeah, it's one of the things I love so much about the form is that this is a real edge to try to just stand there in front of an audience and rely on your story being enough for them. Like that's going
Right.
to be a thing. And I think taking on that enormous of a challenge is already transformational in and of itself. But the thing that I really have come to learn about it is what a direct connection it is between people. Like that audience saying, we were with you the whole time, on the edge of their seat, projecting themselves into your circumstance. So they are kind of vicariously experiencing what you're going through. And if they haven't had the exact same experience, they're imagining how they would do it if it were them in that way. And it brings them along and connects people in a deeply emotional, psychic way. And I think that's a really profound impact that this kind of work has.
What is even more, I think, interesting to me was the commitment that I said, I'm going to do this. And now I've got you, and you're like, we're going to do this. Okay. So now there is no getting off that train. It's like, okay, and the train's going to go through all these different landscapes of fear and wonder, and like I hadn't really even written the last scene until like the week beforehand, because I'd written something that was kind of a placeholder, was good enough, and I just didn't know if I was ever going to get back to it. And then I did. And so I was just like, wow, the unfurling of the experience based on the commitment to it. And then I think in order to be successful in the way that you said, the vulnerability has to be there. And that's what I think you really helped me to see is like, you can trust that if you're vulnerable here, people will be on your side, because that's the worst fear, is like somehow I'm going to put myself out there and it's going to be rejected. Right. So in this, I think what you brought to me was this, like, I really trust your aesthetic. I trust what you think is funny and not funny and too much or not enough. And like that stuff, I could like trust you to make it, and where it really was exactly right in the end.
Well, it's like Brene Brown talking about vulnerability. That's really where the strength lies. And that is an experiential process. You only can really understand that and believe in it and trust in it by having it, by actually making yourself as vulnerable as you can possibly imagine being, and then feeling the unbelievable welling up of courage and validation and affirmation that comes when you do that. People look at it and they go, I want that in my life.
Yes. And the commitment of saying, I'm going to do this, I can do this, I've got the resources, meaning someone like you in my life who can, then that was the first step in doing that, because it's like saying you're going to skydive, and you never skydive. Well, now you're basically, once you've agreed to get in the plane and strap yourself to the instructor, like you're going to do it. And you're going to do, I did things kind of that I didn't know I could do. And I found resources that I was surprised and delighted to see in myself. And I do a lot in life. And this was even more, this really did stretch the envelope for And now in my community, I mean, it's just like I've got this great thing that so many people witnessed, and they're never going to see me the same way. I realized like people like hearing my story. I mean, certainly this story is a big dramatic story that was, I was in People magazine, I was in New York Times. I made it was a big thing, but people, I felt like they trusted me, and that trust paid off for them. And then I feel like I live in a kind of a small community of 5,000 people or 10,000 people, and I just feel like it was just really cool to like have people's trust and to have that and to that reputation in some people's minds. Like I made a big difference. People were crying in the lobby. Christine, you were there. I mean, there was people wanting to talk to me, lined up like 5 deep afterwards. Like that changed me in the way of like, wow, I really had an impact, and that felt great. And it was a risk, and the risk paid off because people were like, wow, bless you for risking and doing this thing. And especially as a man, like often men are not supposed to really dwell in the emotional, like this was a very emotional story. Like I'm writing a 350-page book with another author about this mystery that I solved, and that's the facts. There was just enough facts in the story that you and I did to support the emotional arc, because that was the purpose of this. And as a man, to say I'm going to claim this emotional center, I'm going to claim the grief and the sorrow and the joy and all this stuff, and I'm going to make it, that was like I kind of own that in a way now, in a way that I didn't, and I feel good about it.
It started out as basically a recitation of events and facts, and it
Mm-hmm.
became something deeply
Mm-hmm.
emotional, deep empathy.
Well, and
And
it kept changing, like even through this process, like we were like T minus 2 weeks, and I'm all of a sudden things are coming to me like, oh, this is big, this is good. Taking out a scene, putting in a scene, like the process. It was not like you have to be fully baked and then you just create a something nice out of it. Like that's what I maybe would have guessed it would have been before. It's not. It still was alive, and so until the moment it was born, it was still developing, and that I did not see that coming.
do you think you'll do it again?
Yeah, like the world is full of endless content about emotional and fascinating things and struggles, and that's so juicy and delicious. Yeah, I would love to do it again.
It's so wild that so many people that I work with find that this is like their thing,
Uh-huh.
that they want to keep doing these kinds
Yeah.
of shows. Now, you never would do your whole life. You can't encompass your whole life in
Yeah.
a presentation. So you have to kind of drill down and focus on one aspect that you think is going to be particularly relevant. It's going to help you
Yeah.
transformationally. It's going to help the audience come along on a journey. And there's a lot of those in our lives.
Oh yeah.
You get to
Right. And that's what curating is. And that's what I think I saw you bring in. I mean, my thing was pretty, you know, searching for the car, having near death, near quitting experiences, finding the car, and the surprising emotions that brought. So that was like not super up for grabs in the way of let's doing this together. But I could imagine if I were to redo it with maybe a less subtle or a more subtle part of my life, that the curating that you helped me do is like this plus this is a complete enough story, right? A little bit of the humor, a little bit of the love, a little bit of the sadness, a little of the tragedy. That it's not wide, but it's deep. And coming up with those right things that take people on this journey and then leave them with some hope or leave them with some feeling. And it's a super fascinating process. And I mean, we took some chances on stage. Like we did some interesting stagecraft. The way it wasn't just one monologue with 6 scenes, and we did some things. We had a ladder on stage. We had a couple platforms. We had a kind of a car scene. It was very artistic, and people really loved that. We worked with a great stage manager too. And then a cellist. We had a live cellist there. So between the four of us, all of us, I was just so proud of everybody's performance and everybody's part in this. That so I learned that about myself. It's like, oh, the creativity is not just the story; it's how the story's told and how we emotionally kind of not manipulate, but how we pull them and push them, and how we did it on screen. We had a camera on stage at one point where I was projected, but they could watch me or the camera. That was interesting. So it just there's no bounds about this. It's just like once the idea is there, and that's what I felt permission with you was like let's go big.
Also in that process is I would add that you learn how to collaborate with people on a really high level.
Yeah.
And we kind of didn't know until we brought Alex and Chrissy in as the technical designer and the musician, what we were what was possible. I mean, I know it because I do a lot of that.
Yeah.
For you to see that and for you to be, I mean, you were the hub, you were
Right.
a creative engine in which we all, fired off of.
Mhm.
And for you to be there saying, giving Chrissy direction about how the cello works in these different
Mhm.
places. And it was a very, very seamless collaborative experience.
It was, and up until like the minute the show started. I mean, we were making decisions. I mean, we kind of stopped on that day. We basically kind of locked everything in about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But we'd worked really hard, and but things were still. I mean, because when you let these really great people have bring in their experiences or ideas, like it was morphing until it was going down the birth canal, like on its way to be seen. Like it was not something that I was locked into. There was, and you as a director were great about that, like being able to just say, well, what if we do this? What if we do this? And it right up to the last minute, it made. I mean, so some of the things we did at the last minute were some of the best things in the show.
I've so enjoyed talking to you. Almost as much as I enjoyed doing the show together,
Yeah.
which was just such a
Yeah.
joy.
And now I'm like, oh, theater. I see why people at theater gigs like that rush, that excitement, that deadline of doing something and building something up. But once we committed to it, that's when the magic started. So it really is, like I would say to people, if you suspect that you can do this and that you will enjoy it, don't just jump. Just jump. You will, you're gonna let things be the way they need to be. Like you, Christine, will, as a director, will do that. And so that's what I would say. It's just like the commitment is everything in this case. It's what causes all the change.
So exciting.
I would love to see you do more shows with more people, because I think your gift is pretty tremendous. And it's such an interesting thing that can lead to so much beauty.